to be one of its best of its kind worldwide. Greg's here from the Heritage Environmental Management Company to talk to us about a greener horizon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Greg McManus.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're sitting so far back there, but we'll involve you in the discussions. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you today. What I've been asked to speak to you about is about greening the events industry and where we're going in the greener horizon. And I think what's very important is that this conference takes place at a very important juncture in our history as mankind. And 40 years ago last week, we touched down on the moon. We walked on the moon. And that was an impossible dream 60 years ago. It was an impossibility at the end of the Second World War. But in '69, we managed to do it. And the same possibilities are now facing us in terms of environmental performance as a collection of humankind. Because it was only when we stood on the moon, it's only when we flew into space that we could actually see how fragile this planet really was. And I think that's where we're going from here, is that we need to start understanding that the greener horizon is here. We're in it. We now need to start moving forward. And we need to start planning our businesses a lot more responsibly about where we're going into the future. But let's have a look at the greening of the industry as a whole and try and get an understanding about what is often seen as something new. It's often seen as something that other people do. But where did it really start? Well, I think the very first thing is that the greening of the industry started, we can effectively say, with the green hotels and convention centers in the United States in the mid to late 80s. That's when the first green meeting started taking place in the United States. Obviously, the rest of the world started following suit, and we are at this point in time at a situation where today the green market, the environmentally aware traveler, the environmentally aware delegate, now represents the fastest and the strongest growing niche market in world tourism. And that, I think, is a significant start to where we're going as an industry. I think the second part of what we're looking at is the green meeting sector as a whole. Now, the green meeting sector, the term itself was coined in the late 80s following the greening of hotels. And today we're sitting with a situation where it's driven by the corporate sector mostly in the United States. Here in South Africa, we're no different. The corporate sector is driving the greening of our convention meetings and conference market. Because it's with that drive that we're now we have to start adapting ourselves to meeting the demand that's coming up there. It represents about 117 million delegates per annum in the United States. Now, here in South Africa, we don't have any accurate figures, and there's two reasons for that. The first is that there is an absolute shortage of environmentally rated meeting facilities here in South Africa. That's the first point. The second, more important point, is that the high level of greenwashing taking place in our industry at this point in time is gaining effective information and effective data on the size of our green market very, very difficult. There are too many operators and too many owners of businesses out there that are actually saying this is a green facility or this is a green meeting without actually going down to the nub of what it actually means. And another point that I'd like to make on this is that it's actually the largest growth factor in meetings in 2008. The green market in the United States and Europe was fastest in the meetings market. And I think that shows a significant trend which is starting to impact here in South Africa as well. And we start looking at events. We've got 2010 coming up next year. We're going to have serious challenges thrown at us by a market which is increasingly aware of these issues. What are the drivers of green events and green meetings and green conferences? Well, there's a couple. The very first one I'd like to touch on is the growing environmental consumerism. You cannot open your newspaper, you cannot switch on your radio, you can't watch your TV on a daily basis without finding something about the environment. Something about where things are going. Sunday night we learned that Cape Town could be awash in the next 30 years. We have a look at what's happening in the cities at the moment with the trashing that's going on as part of the labor negotiations. All of those have environmental impacts, long-term in many cases, short-term obviously. The second area we're looking at is that there's increased corporate awareness. Companies across the industry, across the manufacturing and corporate sector, have started realizing the power of going green. And the old traditional brown meetings are slowly giving way to the green style meeting because companies across all sectors of the economy now need to be seen to be doing something about their environmental footprint. Their shareholders are demanding it. Their clients are demanding it.